everyone and welcome to Heb's Home Crochet. In today's tutorial we're going to be looking at the solid granny square. To make our granny square today I'm going to be using an Aran weight yarn and a 6mm crochet hook. Normally you'd use a 5. You always need to check the ball band of the yarn before you start, but I'm just going to use a 6 in today's tutorial so my stitches are nice and big for you to see. So to start our solid granny square, we need to create a slip knot. Insert your hook, and then we need to chain 4. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and again to make a chain of 4. Now we need to slip stitch into the first chain that we made. So insert your hook into that chain, yarn over, pull through, and keep pulling through that loop on the hook. So our chain 4 should have become a circle, and we are going to crochet into the center of that circle here. So to begin with, we want to chain 3. So yarn over and pull through to make a chain of 3. This counts as your first double crochet. Now I'm using US terms. If you'd like a conversion chart for UK versus US terminology, you can find that over on my blog, and I will leave a link in the description box below. So similar to a traditional granny square, we need to create clusters of 3 in our first round. So yarn over and insert into the center of that circle and make a double crochet. And a third one, sorry, because that chain 3 counts as our first one. And then we're going to chain 2. So yarn over, pull through, 1 and 2, and then we're going to create another cluster of 3 double crochets to create our first round. Now on this particular cluster here, you might start crocheting over your tail. That's perfectly normal and better for you, so you don't need to sew it in at the end. Once we've created our cluster of 3, we're going to chain 2 and create another cluster of 3 double crochet right into that same center circle. So our work should be looking a little something like this, and you can see the corners starting to form. Chain 2 and another cluster of 3 still working over that tail. Sometimes it's easier if you hold it against your work, sorry, just like so while you're crocheting, so that you know you're working over it. So this will be our last cluster of 3. 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to chain 2 and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 there to create our last corner. This slip stitch will repeat itself on every row, so you want to end every row with a slip stitch into the first chain 3 that you did. So count up from the bottom, 1, 2 and 3, and insert your hook. Just wiggle it in there, yarn over, pull through and pull through again. So as you can see, you have created a little square. You can see your corners. Pull it up a bit bigger, and if you pull it out like this, put your fingers in the corners and pull it out, you can see that it's a square. So now we've connected our crochet, you can pull on this center string to make that a bit tighter in the middle, just to make that circle a bit smaller. We're going to start our second row, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. And now we're going to work into the tops of our double crochets. So this chain 3 counts as the double crochet from our previous chain 3, and we need to work straight into the top of our next double crochet, which can sometimes look a bit distorted, but the stitch is there, I promise you. So reinsert your hook, and under those 2 loops there for that first double crochet, yarn over and insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. and into the next one, a double crochet. Now we're going into our corner. So to create our corner, we need to do clusters of 2 double crochets. So you're going to yarn over and insert for 1 double crochet, yarn over and insert for 2, and then to turn the corner, just like in the previous round, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to, into the same corner space, create 2 more double crochets. Okay, it fills out that corner quite nicely, but we never want to miss the stitch, our first double crochet, and we're working straight into the top of it. So you may need to just push all those corner stitches back so you can see that first stitch there. So a double crochet into that first stitch, a double crochet into the second, and a double crochet into the third just there. And your work should be looking a little something like this. So you can see that we're filling up every side by working into the double crochet posts and not just the gaps like in a traditional granny square. So we've reached our corner again. Grab myself a bit more yarn. And just like our previous corner, we're going to create 2 double crochets, a chain 2, 2 double crochets. There's our first cluster, chain 2, push it back a little bit and create another cluster of 2 double crochets. And then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into the top of our stitches here. And then just like before, into our corner, we're going to do a cluster of 2, chain 2, cluster of 2. We're going to work then along the top here of our work, just so you can see, of our work here, just as before. And then I'm going to meet you back at the end of this corner so that we can join our work and continue on to the next row. So once we've completed our last corner, so we've done a cluster of 2, a chain 2, and then a cluster of 2. As I said before, we end every row with a slip stitch into our chain 3, which was the first stitch of the row. So we want to count from the bottom or find the top of our chain 3, so 1, 2 and 3, and then we want to insert our hook. So we've gone under both loops of that top of the chain 3, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And our first round should look a little something like this. Again, you can stretch it out from the corners. So now to start our third row, we need to chain 3 again. 1, 2 and 3. And just like before, we're going to be working into the tops of our chains. In this round, you'll see that there are more tops to work into before you get to the corners, and that will be true of every round because we're expanding our work. So the first stitch again might be a little bit distorted, and it's like that just because we've chained 3 and it's kind of pulled that across a little bit. So it's nothing to worry about, but there is a stitch there, so you just want to make sure you yarn over and go through both of those loops. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 to create that double crochet. And we're going to continue that way in the tops of all our double crochets along this row until we get to the corner, and then we'll go over that cluster of 2, chain 2, cluster of 2. So straight into that corner for a cluster of 2 double crochet, chain 2, and then a further cluster of 2 double crochet. Now remember, when we're coming out of the corner, because those 2 clusters of 2 and chain 2 fill the corner space really well, you might have to pull all your stitches over to one side to see the top of that first double crochet here. which is just here right next to the corner. So if you pull your work apart, it's this stitch just here. Okay, so yarn over and insert into that stitch, double crochet, and the same all the way along the tops of the double crochets on this row until we get to our corner again, where again we'll do 2 clusters of 2 and a chain 2. Not in that order. So into our last double crochet. Now we're in our corner, we're going to do a cluster of 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then another 2 double crochets into that same corner space. And you can see how our work is building, coming together, and you just need to continue as before all the way around. And again, I'll meet you here at the end to just go over that joining with a slip stitch one more time, and then it's all yours. When we've completed our last corner, you'll notice that there are some further crochet stitches here that we need to complete. So just like before, we're going to go into those next 2 stitches there. It might look like a third one, but that's actually the top of this one, so that would be our slip stitch from our previous row. So to keep track of it, just look at how many posts you've got below, and you can and you will be able to tell how many stitches, more stitches you've got to do. So in this case, when we come out of our corner, we've got 2 more posts, so we've got 2 more double crochets to do in this row before we join with a slip stitch. So insert our hook for a double crochet, insert for another, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 from our previous row. Insert our hook. Sometimes it's a bit tight depending on how tight you chain, and then you can either chain 1 and tie off, or you continue to make it bigger and bigger and bigger depending on the size of square that you would like. So there we have it, our solid granny square.